Welcome to Limited Out Conservationalists. We got Chris and Dan here.
How we doing?
We are recording our Osceola JW Corbett turkey hunt. It is March 5th, 2023, and we just completed our first hunt in Florida.
Yeah.
We're going to tell ourselves or whoever's listening about the hunt so that we can listen to this and share the memory and listen to the insights when we go back out there, hopefully in April or in future years to come. So let's start first with JW Corbett. Dan did all the research on permits, all that stuff. You want to talk about JW Corbett and what we got into?
Yeah, so it's about 60,000 acres right east of Lake Okeechobee. It is a lot of pine flats and palmetto flats with palmetto ponds and a lot of swamp. But fortunately, this time of year, it was surprisingly dry for the most part. We also were going to anticipate a lot of hunting pressure. And when we got there on our first day, Saturday morning, quickly found out there wasn't a lot of pressure, at least up north, or down south.
Yeah, we're on the south side.
So, that was good from a pressure perspective because it is unlimited access there.
For Osceola. So we're going for Osceola turkey, which are quieter birds. Are they smaller or bigger than these two?
Yeah, they're a little bit bigger, typically a little bit taller because they do walk through swamps. They were dead silent. We might have heard a couple yelps opening morning. Weren't really sure if it was a hunter or if it was an actual bird. In the area we were at, there was only maybe 2 other trucks, so it very well could have been a bird, or a hunter, but not really sure.
Yeah, we big picture on the trip. We got up there. It's about an hour and a half from Miami. We got up there Friday or Saturday morning. Got up at 3:30 on the road. By like 4:10, had a stop, bathroom break, ice break, and there's a little gas station there. And then we didn't grab anything. Then it's still dark out. We got into the park and it was pitch black out. 5:30 in the morning. We were both shaking like leaves because we had no idea if every single step we were going to take was snakes and alligators.
Well, we scouted a couple of weeks before. We went up there before turkey season started, and we saw at least 5 gators right off the road that were like 8 feet long, full length.
Yeah.
And we are not Florida boys by nature, so it was a big jump. We're a little nervous about that opening morning.
Yeah, our original plan was to go in at dawn, like the dark half of dawn, get in there around like 5:36 to get in a good position for sunrise, that first hour hunt where most of the activity is. And we didn't do that. We took a lot of time driving to get to the south entrance we wanted to get to, and then we ended up getting in there right when like the sun was coming up. It was like
sunrise.
But it was good, just getting comfortable on the land, like Dan said. It was the first kind of time being in that, boots on the ground with that. We had the snake boots. Dan did shotgun with a 20 gauge shotgun, Chiss's 20 gauge, and then I did bow. And we were in you could do either in the area we were at. And then that first morning we hiked about a mile or 2 miles kind of slowly I would say we were kind of moving and then would sit for a half hour or hour and kind of sitting on some ponds, not ponds, but like swamp areas.
Yeah, there's a term for them. I think they call them like palmetto ponds, because at this time of year they're at the very least like swampy, shallow ponds, but in the summertime it's all flooded swamp. So yeah, we set a couple of those, and so what did we do? We set 2 ponds.
Yeah, I lost my only broadhead at the first one.
First morning.
Dumb. And
then we checked Onyx, found another like nice marsh pond area a little bit further in. So we hiked it probably, I don't know, 3 miles in.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came into this pond, came around the corner, and we saw what we thought were turkeys by this thumb that stuck out in the pond. But it ended up being 2 deer. And we ended up sitting that, saw a ton of sign.
Huge sign.
Fresh gobbler tracks with monster spur on the back of it.
Like as big as my hand. Huge.
Yeah, so we were...
Alright, we're back.
Technical difficulties.
Part 2. So we're halfway through day 1. We find some does in this really nice swamp area. We move in on this nice finger.
In 2 miles, keep left onto Florida's Turnpike South.
Like kind of an island in the swamp, and we sat that for the remainder of the day. We explored a little bit onto that island and saw even more fresh sign. So we were really feeling great about that. Then we looped around the island, got in some really thick swamp, basically to our tip of our boots, and that was kind of a lot. And then we settled back on that finger. No, we didn't at all. We left, went back to the truck.
Yeah, had lunch.
Had lunch. We were walking out of lunch, or walking out of the forest. We see an FWC agent. He stopped us to just see if we saw anything. We said no, and he says, hey, you can drive back there on the marked trails, and we'd spent 5 miles hiking, so we said, okay, we can take this trail 9 80% of the way. So that was our plan for the afternoon. We got out of there and kind of saw what else was going on with other hunters, then went to the gas station, grabbed chicken wings, bathroom, and then basically by the time we got back in, we stopped to talk to this one hunter, a turkey hunter on the side of the road. We talked with him for 20 minutes, and then we got to the trail 9. We were coming in the west end, yeah.
Use the left 2 lanes to keep left onto Florida's Turnpike South.
And we basically chugged a Red Bull and then just started off-roading on this trail. And earlier in the day, we had taken a trail that was pretty sandy, and we got stuck right next to this guy. It was really, like, we were 6 inches from his truck. He was trying
keep
to
left.
us. We were stuck. It was the whole thing. And then that's kind of...
For 42 miles, continue straight.
Truck, and maybe that might be an issue, but we decided to not, pay that any mind, and started off-roading on Trail 9. And then we got really far. We got basically to where we wanted to be, a mile deep.
Well, no, I mean, we got a mile in, and we came out to, again, a really wet pond area, and the trail was flooded. So we pulled the truck over in the middle of this WMA.
Literally in the middle.
And just parked it up off the trail. And we hiked another, mile and a half into that original spot we sat in the morning where we saw the does. Sat there again.
Morale was extremely high.
Morale was high. Did some yelping. No responses. Again, these birds are in the shadows. Really quiet, weary turkeys. But yeah, morale was high. So then it was dusk, getting to dusk. We started to head back to the truck at sunset. Got back to the truck, it was dark. We're feeling good though, because we still had a whole day tomorrow on Sunday.
Yeah, feeling super victorious. Was feeling great.
Yeah.
Cracked a beer, sat on the tailgate, ate our chicken wings, Feeling great. I was feeling great. I was feeling high there.
And
And then
we went to go turn the truck around, and I remember thinking, like, we had some momentum when we came in, but it was pretty muddy. We got up to a dry spot and parked the truck, and we got kind of stuck right before we parked it, and we made a good rut in the mud, and we were turning around the truck, and we were going super slow, doing, you know, a fucking 8-point turn around, and we're literally not even giving it any gas, and we roll right in to the rut we made with our front left tire, get stuck.
I spun it, dug us a little deeper.
Yeah, we spun it, got a little deeper, then I was like, oh yeah, we're stuck. So we tried it all. We tried putting the floor mats under the back tires, logs, anything to get traction. We just couldn't get any traction because we have, you know, like Chris was saying, a rear-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma with street tires, so the tires wouldn't even grip on the log. You know, small logs that we put under the back tires. We tried to dig it out, the front left tire.
We're also getting mauled by mosquitoes.
Yeah, we're literally 20 yards from a full-blown swamp, gators. And I instantly grabbed our coordinates because I was like, this is going to result in us definitely having to call FWC.
Yeah, it was a good move.
And I called FWC, told them about the situation. They're like, all right, let's see if we have an agent that can come out there to help you. And it was probably 20 more minutes before they called us back. Thank God we had 1 bar of reception. And they ended up coming back out. His name was Anthony. Probably took him like an hour to get out there, to get out to us. On the phone, he said they can't tow us out because of liability, but he's like, I'll come out and try to give you guys a hand. He finally gets out there. We're flashing our headlamps into the canopy, trying to show him where we're at. He comes just plowing through,
straight through the woods,
in a like F-150 4-wheel drive, souped up truck, FWC truck, and he's like, "Hey man, like, I normally have a tow rope in my truck, and you guys aren't that stuck, so I would definitely pull you out. But I just pulled out one of my coworkers the other day, and I left my tow rope in her truck because it got stuck on the tow hook. And do you guys have a tow rope?" And me and Chris looked at each other, and we don't have a tow rope.
No tow rope. And I have 2 tow ropes in my Amazon checkout cart waiting to be bought. I was going to buy one before the trip because I just thought, I feel like I should have a tow rope just in general. But living in Miami, you really never ever need a tow rope. But
Yeah.
so we didn't have a tow rope, and it was sitting there on the 1-yard line. And so Anthony, we had some like ratchet straps. We tried to use that just to give a little tension, and he tried to pull us with that. They snapped. And then
I'd say, you know, this is when we start talking about lessons learned. Lesson learned number 1 is don't take a rear-wheel drive truck off-road, and if you do, have a winch or a tow rope and or a shovel, which we also forgot to pack.
I was gonna say, like, the overall big lesson is you gotta know where you're going, but you also gotta know how you're getting out. And I think we were just riding high on adrenaline and good vibes that obviously we wanted to take a shortcut if we could, and things seemed straightforward, but we didn't quite think them all the way through of like, what if X happens, what if, you know, this happens, that happens. And at one point on the hunt, I remember saying, you know, after the car was out there, like, if it rains, we're fucked. So, you know, we are definitely needed perfect conditions for this, and that never happens, and this was a great case of it. So
Hunting, public land,
yeah, and like given the
we didn't consider factors like, what if we don't have reception out here? Fortunately, JW Corbett's near pretty large municipality, but if that was anywhere else,
Yeah, we would have been walking out of there. We would have been screwed. So definitely, like, from a transportation, I mean, all gear perspective, like, you gotta have everything for every situation and think through not just the best case scenario, which, like, we're optimistic, so always thinking best case scenario, but, like, that's never the case. So gotta be prepared for everything and think things through before making a decision like that and sending it.
Yeah. So then the FWC agent's like, well, I know a local guy named Porky who pulls people out of here on the regular. He's got a swamp buggy and he's got a pretty big truck, but he ain't cheap. So he called up his buddy Porky, put us on the phone with him. You know, it's a Saturday night at 8 o'clock. He's like, yeah, I can come out and get you boys, but I ain't free. And he quoted Chris on the phone $550.
Yeah, so Dan and I look at each other, and I tell Dan the price, and we kind of just put up our arms like, it is what it is, either that or we're stuck here, you know, and...
Yeah, it came down to a couple options. We hike out of there, at this point, catch a ride with FWC, out of there, leave the truck, go talk to some people at the campgrounds on the north side of JW that are camping out there overnight, and ask somebody if they have a tow rope, because we didn't have a tow rope, and if they would be willing to pull us out, which is not guaranteed. Tall ask, it's 8 p.m. People are waking up at 3 or 4 to get out in the woods. Or we catch a ride, get out of there, and somehow get a ride out of there from Stevie J, or
yeah, leave the truck,
Uber home, leave the truck and figure it out in the morning. Or we spend $550, get towed out of there.
So we spent the money. We told him to come out there, and then we hung out with the FWC guy for a while. It was fun. We got to learn a lot about, you know, what that's like, and we actually got a lot of good hunting spots. Got some good tips.
Yeah, he gave us a couple of good WMAs to put preference points in on the west side of Okeechobee. Also, I have a quarter permit for Ocala National Forest up north of Orlando, and he pretty much said, don't even waste your time, because there are dogs that people hunt with up there, so it's just a mess. He's like, you're going to have a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of turkeys in the pipeline unit. And he probably just saved me a couple $100 in 5 hours each way driving up there.
Yeah, he was pretty adamant about that. He also gave us 2 good pieces of advice. He said, for JW Corbett, the turkeys are where the burns are, and that makes sense based on where we saw a lot of the hunting pressure driving through. It was off of the recent burns, so that made a ton of sense. And then he also said, if you find the hogs, you find the turkey, and that the turkeys follow the hogs because they tear everything up, and then the turkeys eat, you know, kind of all the grubs and stuff left behind. So that was really interesting and kind of put us on, because we were seeing hog tracks everywhere, but we weren't paying any attention. So that was kind of 2 good pieces. I don't know if they transferred other places, but at least at JW Corbett, those check out to be pretty true, especially because today, on Sunday, we found hog tracks and we found turkey tracks.
In parallel, like a ton of fresh
walking together.
Hog tracks, followed by turkey tracks.
Yeah.
Everywhere there were hog tracks, there were turkey tracks.
Yeah. So then he leaves because another FWC agent was coming. Here we go.
Cut 3.
So Porky's on his way. FWC agent. There was another FWC agent coming out there in his truck. We could see his headlights. And then that person got stuck. So then Anthony, the FWC agent with us, went to go help him out. And he's like, I'm going to go tow him out. So we don't know. Maybe
Keep in mind, it's 8 p.m. pitch black in the middle of 60,000 acres.
Yeah. Yeah, full moon. It was quite the scene. And so then he leaves, and then we're sitting there for a good 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Waiting for Porky. and then Porky calls us or texts us or
Oh,
something.
the FWC texts us like, hey, Porky's on 9. He can't find you guys. Go over to where I came in and flash him with your headlamps. So we start hiking into the woods away from the swamp to find Porky. We can see his headlights. We can hear a truck. We can see light, but we don't know where he's at. And out of the woods, we hear, hey, where are you guys at? And out from the darkness comes Porky, who's probably 6'4", 300-pound white guy, wearing in the middle of the swamp a blue button-up, short-sleeve button-up collared shirt that's like blue and white plaid with basketball shorts and Sperry's.
Just stomping around the swamp.
Stomping around the swamp in Sperry's. And the first thing he says to us is, how the fuck did you guys get back here with the rear-wheel drive truck? And we were like, we didn't come this way, that's for sure. And he comes plowing through the middle of the woods, tearing down palmettos with, in the early 2000s, Chevy Silverado 2500, lifted up with bald-ass tires on it.
Bald as that, or no, we say slippery as owl shit.
Slippery as owl shit, his tires were. He gets to our truck, starts pulling us out, pulls us out, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, I'm gonna follow you guys up the trail. Let's go out the same way you came in, because we told him it was an easier trail. He's like, if you guys get stuck again, I'll pull you out. But he's like, hey, I need your ID or something, because I like trusting people, but you know, you never know. Some people, we get to the main road and they pull away and not pay me. And he's like, because I don't want to shoot you guys in the back of the head.
So I give him my ID, we start rolling. Dan's driving because I've been demoted from off-road driving, so I got us stuck. And we drive about 100 yards, and then we come around a corner hot, and then we hit a rut again, get the truck stuck again.
Deeper
Yeah.
than we were stuck to first, because when we came in, it was daylight and we could see that rut. It wasn't around a curve, and we went like around, not in the rut, but over it and around it. So we sunk her even deeper. I sunk her even deeper into mud. He pulled us out again.
Yeah, and then we reloaded for another round.
We got back home at like midnight that night. Wake up call Saturday morning was 3.
Stay in the left 3 lanes.
So our game plan for Sunday was we were going to wake up at 8, be on the road by 9, get up there by 10:30, and hunt, you know, midday to an evening hunt.
Yeah, because Porky had told us some spots. So all in all, got stuck, and it was awful. It sucked, but we also got really good tips from both Anthony and then Porky. Porky had this spot on the south gate entrance that he said he killed a ton of turkeys at, and he was really confident.
He goes, you know, you don't need to get this deep into the damn swamp to kill a turkey here, right? He's like, what you got to do is go into the south entrance, east entrance, go on Trail 14, park literally at the check-in station, and there'll be a Trail 14. It'll come out to a nice white sand open area. If you see any wet, you know, ruts or anything, just go around them. And then there'll be a road that runs all the way along a canal. And he's like, I go and walk that canal road. You can see where the turkeys are crossing the canal. He's like, I walk there all the time, and they scare the living shit out of me. I spook them. There's a ton of turkey over there. So that was the game plan for today.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of a late start, but we slept in. We finally got some sleep after a long week. And we were on the road around like 12:15. After a couple of missed turns, we got to the park at 2:30. And just like Porky said, we park at the ranger station. We go right up 14. It's just like he described it. Saw 2-3 alligators on the canal up the way. That was a good adrenaline rush. And we we were back hunting by 3.
Well, we also ran into our first hunters being in the field.
Oh yeah, fuck those guys.
On that canal. And, we had talked to hunters, like driving the roads after our hunt. We didn't see any day one, very little pressure. So this is the first hunter we ran into in the field. They were in a truck. They didn't stop initially. They just waved, kept going down the canal road. They put it in reverse after going probably 50 yards and started reversing back to us and rolled down their window. And it was a guy and his son that was probably, 16 to 18. And this guy looks at us and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "What does it look like?"
I didn't even understand the question, yeah.
"Hunt turkey." And he looks at Chris and he goes, "With that fucking thing? With the bow here?" We're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot," like all this stuff, like just being an asshole for no reason. He's like, these birds don't call, you're not gonna get them with a bow. And the whole reason, the whole like learning thing about that was everybody else we talked to, including the first 2 FWC agents, all the hunters we talked to, when we were not hunting, they were all really friendly, really open, giving feedback and, literally descriptive spots of where to go. But like in anything, there's always 10% of people are kind of assholes. Kind of ran into them today.
Yeah. So I was kind of rattled after that. That made me mad for a good half hour afterwards. And then we found, I guess kind of like a field, right? We drop into this field.
Yeah, it was like a little pine flat with a bunch of palmetto fields. Completely different landscape than what we hunted day one. Day one was a lot of like, a lot of ponds, a lot of swamps that we were hunting within the open swamps. This side there was a canal, and then everything west of it was dry pine flats with palmetto bushes.
Yeah, so we found some turkey tracks there. Just kind of like a swamp road or
buggy road. Yeah,
buggy road.
That's where we saw like the turkey tracks and the hog tracks, but they weren't the freshest. But that's like the only lead we had. Our original plan was to kind of try to find a spot on the canal where we could see clear tracks, but since those assholes drove their truck, we were like, okay, any turkey that we might saw, we're going to get bumped by their truck, and or the tracks were going to get covered because it wasn't a wet mud road or anything.
Yeah. So we hit that, and then we found a spot kind of down a little bit from the tracks, and we set up shop there, made a palmetto blind, and then I got bored and started exploring and found a tree stand maybe like 50 yards from where we set up shop, and ended up going up in the tree stand for about an hour, and Dan sat on the swamp buggy road where we saw the tracks. I didn't see anything, and I had great visibility. I could see forever, and I was glassing. I didn't see anything. Dan didn't see anything. We were texting about how we were frustrated in general with hunting, and then we ended up walking down the road a bit for the last hour, down kind of swamp buggy road on kind of bordering the marsh, and then we ended up probably making a stupid decision to cut through the swamp, which was pretty deep, and then get into this little island that looked like it was straight out of Wizard of Oz or something with the hanging down stuff. It was super thick.
Yeah,
in
there were a bunch of cypress trees in there. It was super dense little island, and it was all rutted up from hogs. There was just hog heaven. There was a shitload of hogs in there at one point in the recent term, and hiked through that, and then hiked back to the canal road, and Started walking out. I let off a couple steam shots just because I wanted to shoot the gun. Make sure it fired.
It fires all right.
It fires. It kicks like a 12, I'll tell you that. Then we hiked out and we saw one truck on the canal road, stepped aside, let him go. And then when right after we got out of the canal road, we ran into our friends again that gave Chris shit for using a bow. And they pulled over again and they were like, hey, how's it going again? Did you see anything? And he just goes, you guys want to ride? Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, we still got a decent hike in. So we took a ride from saved us a ton of time.
Yeah.
And we got out back to the last stretch on the trail, and he puts the truck in park and rolls down the back window, and he goes, you boys got your shit together? Because I just got word FWC's at the gate once we get out there. We're like, yeah, we do. We're in the bed of his truck.
Yeah.
We get out there, sure enough, there's 2 FWC trucks, and they come right up to us hot.
Yeah.
Me and Chris are in the back of the truck, and I grab my shotgun, and I'm getting out of the truck. And the FWC agent's like, hey, he's like, can I get that? He's like, no, he asked me, is it loaded? I'm like, no, it's not loaded. He's like, do you mind if I take that? Well, you're getting out? I'm like, yeah. Give him my shotgun. He's looking at it. He can't figure out how to open the action on the damn thing. I'm like, dude, it's on the side right there. He's like, that's the action button? I'm like, yeah. It ejects from the bottom. And he's like, looking at the gun. And then the other agent's checking the guy's truck. And then we're like, yeah, we're not with these guys. We just caught a ride with them. And he's like, you guys got license and tags? Start pulling them out. He's still holding on to my gun after he already verified it's unloaded. And he goes, do you mind if I set this down here? And I'm like, in the bed of the guy's truck. And I'm like, I'm not with these guys. But whatever, he wouldn't give me my gun back after he already verified that it was unloaded. Then we showed him our licenses, and we're talking to the FWC agent. And the dude that gave us a ride starts pulling away with my shotgun in the bed of his truck. So we start yelling, hey. The other agent starts flashing with the flashlight. Guy jumps out of his truck. He's like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, the agent put my gun in your truck. And I grabbed my gun, and the guy almost stole not even my gun, it's Chiz's gun.
Yeah, it was just a lot there at the end.
Which was a lot, but we had our shit together. We had our licenses. Those 2 agents were not playing around.
They were looking
they were
to
checking
find problems.
They were checking every truck that was leaving the WMA that night.
Yeah, I think lesson learned there. If you're gonna hunt public land,
have your shit together.
Have your shit together, because there are a ton of details. Everything from the road access to areas that you could hunt with certain weapons. Like there was still hunt area, and like knowing where you're at. And Dan read the regs multiple times, and we had our shit together. And that was like, felt very confident out there. Even if I didn't feel confident in the hunting, felt confident in being on public land, in regulation, you know.
Yeah.
Like no like weird, oh, are we doing things right? It was great to just
No, we had everything together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall it's a good experience. First time hunting in a 90-degree weather in a swamp. Learned a lot about that. We got word that a lot of the birds were, in fact, on the north side where we saw all the trucks where they were hunting fresh bird. So it's just a matter of finding the game, and we couldn't find them.
Yeah.
We saw some fresh sign. There probably were some turkey down where we were at, but between them not calling and the majority of the turkey being on the north side by the burn, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I think, a couple of main takeaways. One, feeling really good about being a Florida man, doing the Florida man thing, snake boots, in the swamps, sloshing around in public land. That was our first Florida hunt, and felt comfortable. The first morning, obviously, we were shaking. We didn't know what was getting eaten by a panther, but after spending a weekend out there, I feel great out there. I feel like treated just like the woods back home.
In 10 miles, take a slight right turn to merge onto Florida's Turnpike South toward Homestead.
You're good. So I'm pretty pumped about that because I think that opens up Florida in a big way for hunting versus previously it was closed to me. It's like mentally. I think the other big takeaway I mentioned, having your shit together with licenses and everything. The other big takeaway is talking to people and FWC people. They gave us a ton of information.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally spots on the map, talking to Porky, pulling out maps, showing you spots. When we did our elk hunt the second time, 2022, that's how we had huge success, is because we talked to people.
Talk to locals.
And,
familiar with the area.
Exactly. And, like, I think where we messed up here compared to where we succeeded with the elk hunt in 2022 is talk to locals, but we didn't put their advice into practice. Like, multiple people had said the burn areas where the turkeys are. We saw hunting pressure there. We knew that there were birds harvested on the north end, but we kind of stuck to our plan and trusted Porky's advice, which was this route. And, like, given our time constraint on the day and our comfortability with that area, I think that made sense. But I think if we were...
we had a full day to hunt there. What we should have done is we knew there were successful harvests in the burn. We knew there was a lot of pressure up there, but we also knew there were turkey there. So if we had a full day, we should have just hunted that new area.
Yeah.
Because we would have had the time to check for sign, find a spot to hunt, make sure we're not bumping other hunters.
Yeah, for sure. Other takeaways, I would say key pieces of gear, always a fun one to review. My bud pad was incredible. I loved it. I think the thicker you can go on that, the better for turkey hunting. I also think having, I just had one. DEET off-wood. Gotta have really the strongest insect repellent you can have. It worked great. Honestly,
yeah, bugs were not really a factor other than when we were stuck in the swamp. When the truck was stuck middle of the night. But other than that, early morning, throughout the day, evening, sunset hunt, no real issue with bugs. I would say Thermacell, I used it when we were in the swamp. Still don't know how I feel about that, whether it works that well or not.
I wasn't a fan of it when I just popped out there. It's kind of big.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't have a good clip on the belt. So when you clip it on your belt, it can disconnect from the actual unit and also your belt pretty easily. So that's kind of a pain.
Yeah, it was bad design on their part.
And then I got the Yule Hunt turkey backpack and pouch, turkey vest and pouch. Everything was great about it, and it's ULL Hunt, but everything was great about it besides the pad. Definitely could be thicker. Like if it was, yours was super thick. Mine was still 3 inches thick, but it wasn't like memory foam. It was just cheap like padding on the inside. So my ass was hurting me a little bit here and there sitting down. But overall, it's great. It's a great vest. Budget buy, $70. Has a bladder spot.
Yeah, I think undisputed king that made it all happen of the gear is the waterproof snake boots. I love my boots. Really happy with my purchase. They're knee high. There's no way you're going in there without those. You would be so limited,
Yeah, you need waterproof rubber boots at a minimum.
Yeah.
Something that's going up to your knees at a minimum.
Yeah.
Especially at that time of year. I mean, we crossed water a handful of times, and everything that we crossed, the deepest we got was like almost at the top of our boot, which is about knee high. But if it was any other time of the year, if there was more rain, we probably would have needed something, waders or something.
Yeah, I gotta say that was about my comfort level of being in water though. Even that last thing we did to Hug Heaven, it was about knee high water, and I was scared of alligators in there.
Well, and it also makes it more stressful because you only have it up to your knee, and it's like this next step. What if it's not up to my knee? Then I'm soaked.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, hunting takeaways, we touched on that a little bit, but I think overall, the kind of struggle that we've had with public land is finding the animals. That seems like obvious, but I wish personally that I had done more research to understand what a turkey is doing at what times of the day and why, so that I could feel more confident saying we need to go to this specific habitat area or that specific habitat area, or we should be doing this or we should be doing that.
Well, I think what's tough about that is, like, from what I know, is turkeys in the early morning are roosted near water. The problem is that you're in a swampy pine flat WMA where there's water everywhere. It's not,
not
Illinois or Wisconsin where there's a pond or a river that you can just locate the turkey that way. So that was difficult as well. And you can also anticipate that they're going to go to their roost in the evening near water. But since it's Osceola and it's Florida, that is kind of a hard concept to go about finding them.
Yeah.
And they weren't calling.
Yeah.
There was no yelping from what we heard. Tried locating in the morning briefly with an owl call, getting the trigger response from them, but nothing even tonight when we did it.
Yeah, nothing. So I think, just finding the animal or knowing where to find the animal would be helpful. We ran into that on our first issue with the first elk hunt too. It's kind of a similar thing, just no idea where to even find them, where to look.
I think what's also
In 2 miles, take a slight right turn to merge onto Florida's Turnpike South toward Homestead.
So we went up there and scouted, but we didn't actually get boots on the ground because I had an ankle injury. My ankle was, I had a boot on and everything, so we couldn't actually get boots on the ground. We just drove the trails, got a feel for the area. If we could have actually spent a day hiking around looking for sign, that would have made a world's difference.
100%.
If we spent, even if it was one weekend, one full day of just scouting, think about it, we would have already known that there was fresh sign at that second, third pond we sat. We wouldn't have had to spend all that time getting there.
Yeah, I would almost go as far as to say that if you're going to hunt public land, we have to scout it.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. We have to go into
That's
public land
ideal.
with spots already in mind, because it's public, you can go, right? You just can't hunt. So that to me is a deal breaker. If we can't scout it, it's gonna be really hard to have success.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. If it's an in-state public land hunt, even if it's a 5-hour drive, you gotta scout it at least once before.
Yeah.
Use the right 2 lanes to take a slight right turn to merge onto Florida's Turnpike South toward Homestead.
Yeah, then I think your e-scouting is really important, and talking to locals is beforehand super important.
We got to get in a better habit of talking to the FWC, talking to biologists, asking them for tips. Are there any recent birds? Where are the animals this year? Stuff like that.
Take a slight right turn.
For sure, and that feels awkward at first, because you're oh, are you
In 7.3 miles, take the exit to merge onto I-75 South.
Their job is for you to hunt safely and maintain the wildlife, so they're really open to it. So I think as long as you're asking smart questions and you know what you're talking about, then I think they're open to it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Every time I've called, it's make sure you have a list of questions already thought out and written down, because you want to have a productive conversation and not waste your time.
Yeah, you can't just say where are the turkeys. You got to be like with Anthony, it's we were hunting this area, we saw a sign there, but we didn't hear any birds. And then he's oh, well, they're normally by the fire, burn area. So it's the more pointed question you can have, the better answer you're going to get. I would say other hunting takeaway, specifically with JW Corbett, it was very hard to find places where you could see a big range of visibility. That's where the scouting comes back in, of knowing where to go. But I mean, we didn't have any success just trying to glass for turkeys in the high grass and things like that. We were doing it, but it's just hard to kind of find a vantage point. I don't even know if that's how you're supposed to hunt turkeys, right? But that's just the takeaway I had. It's like I like being where you can have visibility and see a lot to increase your chances of seeing an animal. That's why I didn't like that last spot, because I'm like, we got, you know, a 20-yard stretch that we're betting our entire hunt on, so that's why I wanted to get to a different place. So yeah, any final thoughts? What's next? What's next for Limited Out?
I think probably head back up to JW Corbett now that we have a lay of the land a little bit in April.
Yeah, Dan's gonna get a new trail boss. I'm getting knee surgery. We're gonna drive those trails back in the northern area by the Burns. Maybe get Brewer out there and see if we can get one of these turkeys. I'm gonna get my shotgun too, so that guy won't make fun of me, and I'll have a better chance of success.
Yeah, but we also did have a bow in an area where it was not even still hunt designated.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, it's just
makes sense.
playing super hard for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Any final thoughts?
No.
Cool. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Limited Out.